All right, we're honored to have Mr. C.J. Grisham, and if you're one of those people that exercises your God-given rights of carrying the weapon of your choice, the main man you can thank for that in Texas would be C.J. Grisham. He fought the hard battle. He took the slings, the arrows, and the slams to the ground to get you those rights. C.J. Grisham with Open Carry, Texas.
Everybody hear me pretty well?
Yes.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure. First of all, Doc always oversells me. All I did was get other people to be as loud and obnoxious as I am. So I can't really take as much credit as Doc gives me, but I do appreciate it. And I want to thank Brandon also. One of the things that's always kind of annoyed me as an activist, and I've been an activist on many different causes, is that it seems like the conservative movement, we're not as cohesive and we're not as joined at the hip as the left is on a lot of things. You know, you go to any leftist rally and you're going to find baby killer supporters there. You're going to find minimum wage job killers there. You're going to find all the leftist organizations. So even if it's a pro-abortion rally, you're going to find the anti-gun crowd there. You're going to find the minimum wage crowd, the big government crowd, the small liberty crowd, and they all come together. But yet on the conservative side, when we have, for example, a pro-gun rally, you know, the pro-life people don't show up, and the pro-small government people don't show up, and we're very segmented. So I really appreciate Brandon for bringing this group together. Jonathan's a good man. I'm glad to see him on here. I've supported Texas Values for a while, not monetarily because I haven't been around here, but I support everything they do. I've seen them in the Capitol often, and really appreciate what Texas Values does. And I'm glad that we're able to come together and talk about these various types of issues that we that believe in freedom and liberty actually care about, other than just segmenting ourselves into pro-gun and pro-life and pro-this and that. So it's good to have us all together, and I really think we need to unite more often. And that's one of the things we plan to do is once we kind of gear back up, is if we're going to have a pro-gun rally, we need to start bringing some pro-life people. We need to start bringing some pro-limited government people as well, and make it a conservative rally instead of just sort of the segmented thing. But anyway, as to Open Carry Texas and why I'm on Zoom, people probably think, hey, where did CJ go? I'm still here, but I decided to go to law school. I think I got a lot to share with Jonathan. He when he decided to go to law school was pro-life issues, and he wanted to make a difference. And you know, after my third arrest for not breaking any laws whatsoever and trying to fight so hard in Texas for gun rights at the legislature, not getting anywhere, I just feel, you know what, I've had it. And so I'm in my, about to finish my second year of law school. I've got one more year left, and I will be back in Texas. I left Texas so that I could focus, which I hate, because it's the legislative session and I can't be there to fight for and against bills and just be a pain in the side of politicians who won't go along with the Constitution. But it's a conscious decision I had to make, hopefully so that I can make a better difference in the future. If the legislature doesn't act, I'll make them act in the courts, just like Jonathan's doing with pro-life issues. I plan to do with you know, First, Second, and Fourth Amendment issues as well. One of the neat things I got to do last year I want to talk about, and I'm going to leave most of the legislative stuff to Rick, because quite frankly, though I'm tracking it sort of from on the outside, I did leave Texas to go to law school because otherwise I would be at the legislature instead of studying my con law case book, which is thicker than I think my trunk. So I had to buy a trailer just to put my con law book into it. And I knew I'd be way distracted, but I'm going to leave all that stuff to Rick as far as talking about what he's fighting for and what we're fighting for in Open Carry Texas and the legislature. But I did want to talk about a few things that I've been kind of doing to the extent that I can as a law student. And that is, last summer I did my internship. Some of y'all might know an attorney named Millie Thompson. She's now a judge in Hays County for a good I mean, she's a good judge. And some of y'all might be like, wait a minute, especially if you live in Hays County, isn't she a Democrat? Well, yeah, in many places, as you know, in Texas, if you want to win, you have to run as, depending on where you are, a Democrat if you're going to win. Otherwise, there's no chance. Or in Republican districts, you got to run as a Republican, or else you don't have a chance. But Millie is one of the most pro-liberty people that I know, and I turned down a really good offer to internship with a big firm because I wanted to intern with somebody that was going to go into the same kind of law that I want to go into, which is civil rights and these First, Second, and Fourth Amendment issues that we have, and 14th, and well, heck, all of them. And one of the first cases she gave me, and of course it was the COVID time, so last summer was the height of the hoax response, not the hoax virus, but the hoax response to the virus. And so I had to do a lot of my internship virtually. And so I reported for duty, and I says, okay, Millie, what's the first thing you want me to do? I'm an eager law student. I just finished my first year, so obviously I know everything about the law. What can I do? That was a joke. First year law students don't know anything. As a matter of fact, I think we're dumber coming out of law school because we have to rethink, or out of the first year because we have to rethink, learn how to think differently. But she gave me this case. She says, well, I've got, and it's actually a friend of mine, Todd Ferguson's case is going to appeal. We want to appeal to the Supreme Court, the Texas Supreme Court. Do you want to write the brief for that? If you don't realize, in Texas, if you are arrested for a crime, a Class B misdemeanor or higher, just arrested. It doesn't matter whether there's probable cause for the arrest. It doesn't matter if there's evidence of guilt. It could just be like all my arrests, just pissing off the police. And I'm sorry, we're in a church. I'll keep it down. But if you are arrested for a Class B misdemeanor or higher, and you have a license to carry, you lose your license until that case is resolved, whether the charges are thrown out or you're acquitted, or even if you're convicted 5 years after the conviction, you can get your license back. And there's a lot of due process problems with that, mainly that the administrative hearing that you're allowed to have, because once DPS informs you that your license is suspended, you're allowed to request a hearing, but it's not a probable cause hearing. It's not a hearing on the evidence of whether or not you did what you're accused of doing. Literally, it's an administrative hearing that only determines whether or not there's an arrest. Were you placed in handcuffs? Were you charged with a crime? And were you magistrated on that crime or indicted on that crime? If yes, doesn't matter. Your license is suspended. The hearing's over, right? You can appeal to a county judge. Which is more of a court of record. But again, the only thing that the county judge is going to do is determine whether or not by law there is an arrest present. If there is, it's going to be upheld. So that's what Todd Ferguson did. He challenged, like me in Olmos Park. Olmos Park is an out-of-control police department there. The police arrested him for no reason whatsoever, although they claimed he was trespassing. But they didn't arrest him until after the fact, way after the fact. And so we are challenging to the Supreme Court. It's the case is Ferguson v. DPS, and I got to write the Texas Supreme Court brief that is challenging that law, which is 411-187 of the government code, to invalidate it as unconstitutional because, look, Todd was arrested in 2018. It's now 2021, 3 years. It's been 3 years. He's been charged on a bogus Class A misdemeanor, I think is what it is. Non-violent, it's just trespassing. And yet he still hasn't had his day in court. And by the way, his license is still suspended. We are very confident that the whole case is either going to be thrown out or he's going to be acquitted, but that doesn't matter. The point is, he has no Second Amendment rights in the state of Texas as long as he's waiting on the courts to do whatever the courts are doing or the prosecutor to drop the charges. And so Open Carry Texas is very involved in that. That's something that we are supporting at the Supreme Court right now. And by the way, as sort of an aside, maybe somebody out there has a contact. Maybe Jonathan can help me here with a contact. But the good news is that Millie Thompson, the attorney I was working for, was elected to be a judge, and we've got a good judge there. The bad news is, because she's a judge, she had to recuse herself from the case and remove herself as an attorney of record for the case. The case is fully briefed to the Supreme Court. Literally all we're waiting on is oral arguments, but now we have no attorney. And so two things we're trying to do. We're trying to raise money to either buy an attorney or to put an attorney on record or on retainer, or one that is willing to kind of argue the case for us. And as any attorney will tell you, they don't like taking cases that have been completely briefed and then all they're going to do is oral arguments. There's just it's just one of those things. And so we're kind of at a weird spot here where we either have to hope that the Texas Supreme Court doesn't allow oral arguments or that we find and can pay for. The only attorney we found is one that wants $11,000 as a retainer to argue the case if it goes to the. Now we'll get the money back if the court says, I think we've got enough in the briefings. And quite frankly, I think based on the DPS briefing and based on our briefing, even if it didn't do oral arguments, I still think we're going to win on the merits of the case. We've already argued, we've done the brief on the merits and all that stuff. But so Open Carry Texas and I'm still involved. I still contact police departments when people contact us and they feel like their rights have been violated. And but as far as the legislative stuff is going, I'm going to leave that to Rick, and I'm going to kind of turn that over to Brandon and them on that. But I do appreciate being here. I'm glad I could at least attend remotely to be with y'all. I miss Texas. I miss doing all this activism stuff. But law school is highly political, and if I did anything and got myself arrested, even if I was doing nothing wrong, I jeopardize my entire legal career. I'm not worth anything without a law degree back if I go back home. So I gotta do that. But thanks, Brandon.
CJ Grisham, thank you very much for taking time away from law school. And Rick Briscoe, I believe he handed a few things to you.
I think I've got enough.
Is it on? It's on.
It's on? Okay. For those of you who don't know me, I am Rick Briscoe. I'm the legislative director of Open Carry Texas, which quite simply means I do laps around the pink dome for CJ. I'll tell you.
Hey, hang on, Rick. First I'm oversold, and now Rick is underselling This guy's doing all the work for Open Carry Texas. He's a busy dude. But anyway, don't undersell yourself, Rick.
When I was collecting some of our trifolds, which are on the table at the back, that tells you a little bit more about Open Carry Texas, I ran across a couple of ours from, I believe they were 6 years ago. There were 5 states that had constitutional carry at the time. I'm pleased to tell you that today there are 18 and 2 states which have passed bills. The Tennessee governor has essentially told the legislature he wants to see constitutional carry passed, and Iowa committee has passed a constitutional carry bill, and looks like it's got a good chance of getting up to the governor for signature too. So that would leave Texas in, at best, 21st position. Even Oklahoma has constitutional carry. What is constitutional carry? It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but here's what it really is. It means if you can lawfully own or possess a handgun, you can carry it without a license or a permit from the state. Seems pretty simple. I used to tell people, but it'll take 12 or 15 pages to put it in nice lawyerly language. Boy, did I underestimate it. The 2 pure constitutional carry bills that are pending that will be heard this coming Thursday are 54 pages long. Think about that just a minute. Do you really think that an average citizen should be expected to learn 54 pages of law? I intend to ask some of our legislators that question, and if they answer yes, I'm going to administer a pop quiz. we shouldn't take anything at all for granted that it will make, these bills will make it out of the House. But we've got the best shot that we've had in a good many years. Speaker Phelan has authored or co-authored a number of pro-Second Amendment bills. He has appointed a wonderful chairman to the committee that will hear the bills this Thursday. That's Chairman Representative James White, who is one of the authors of an age 21 bill. The 254-page bills are age 18 bills. There also is a bill by Representative Matt Schaefer, which is also an age 21 bill, and we're supporting any and all of those that we can get through. If we get them all to the governor's desk so that he can pick and choose which ones he signs, that would be absolutely amazing. But we aren't compromising. We've been taking what we can get and coming back for more. In fact, I have taken to quoting former Representative Pancho Nevarez to that effect. On the last day of the legislature several years ago, he said, no matter what we give these guys, they'll be back next time asking for more. And I turned to whoever was next to me and said, yes, sir, we surely will. Now, I have given you a really short version of these bills. There are a whole lot of bad bills. All of the Second Amendment groups, whether it's NRA, Texas State Rifle Association, Open Carry Texas, Texas Gun Rights, we are all working together towards the same end to pass some good bills and kill the bad ones. And fortunately, many of the authors of the really bad bills file them every session, and generally they don't even get a hearing, which kills them. Sometimes they do, and then they get voted down. But we can't take that for granted. You need to learn who represents you. Go to your favorite search engine, DuckDuckGo or whatever, and type in who represents me. And it'll give you your U.S. senators, your U.S. representative, your Texas senator, and your Texas representative. Get to know them well. Get them to know you well. When you call, the most important word you can start with is, my name is Rick Briscoe and I'm a constituent. You get treated very differently as a constituent. Why? You get a say in whether they get rehired in 2 years or 4 in the case of the Senate. Number one, always be polite. There have been some instances in the past where people who we've not been able to identify were at the very least quite rude to staff. Staff are generally young people who are just doing their job. Even if you think their boss is a terrible human being, staff does not deserve to be mistreated, and it's counterproductive. It'll just set their boss in their ways. When you go, I urge you, if at all possible, to go to the hearings this coming Thursday. I know it's a big ask to go and spend most of the day to get to speak for 2 minutes. If you can't stay but can go, you can register and indicate your position for the good bills and not testifying, and then you can leave, and the committee will then read into the record your registration that you are in favor of whichever of the bills but are not testifying. So if you need to leave, even if you've registered to testify, you can leave if you have to get home or whatever, because it's going to be a long, long day. About appearance there. We ask people to conceal carry. Yes, you have the right to open carry in the Capitol if you've got a license, but it's a matter of, we're going there to try to get some things done. And I've been told by several people that open carrying at the committee hearings doesn't really do us any good. Whether they're right or wrong, let's err on the side of caution, bite your tongue, whatever. Let's get some bills passed. The other thing is, please don't show up in full battle dress. Please. That does no good at all.
There is a time for that. It's just not at the Capitol.
Yeah. Should we get some of these bills passed and signed into law by the governor, as we've done in the past, we're going to have a big celebration at the Capitol. And on those occasions, feel free to come as you will. Celebration's a whole different matter.
I have a question. Since you mentioned Pancho Navarro, how's he doing on his cocaine possession? Remember he was going through the airport and he dropped his cocaine and they got it on the video. I was just wondering how he was doing with that.
Mr. Navarez recently published a public letter celebrating his sobriety. No, I'm really quite serious. He's an example of the human frailty. It could happen to anyone, whether it's drug abuse, alcohol abuse, whatever. And as Christians, we believe in redemption, and we wish him all the best in his recovery and his efforts to be a better man. That's all I have to say.
Did he get his panic button put in his office? Because he was afraid of all you gun guys and he wanted a panic button put in his office.
Actually, there were panic buttons in most of the offices even before that. I won't go into the name of the individual whose name may not be spoken who caused that problem, but then Representative Navarez was very gracious to take CJ and myself into his office on what became our apology tour for things we didn't do. People who go, the individual literally forced their way into the office, and I won't go into further details, but it was so bad that the Republicans, Mr. Navarez is a Democrat, the Republicans were wearing buttons that said, "I am Pancho."
Oh my God.
They offended the entire legislature. That's not the way things are done. And as I said, insofar as Mr. Navarez goes personally, I wish him all the best in his recovery. And we all should. That's really the most up-to-date information on what's happening in the short term. Former Representative, now Senator Drew Springer, filed 11 pro-Second Amendment bills on the same day. I think that's something of a record. We'll be following his bills in the Senate. One of them will be the counterpart of his constitutional carry bill that he had pre-filed in the House before he won the election to the Senate seat. And we've got some work to do in the Senate convincing a couple of Republican senators to vote for Republican priority measures, meaning constitutional carry. There's a requirement in the Senate for a supermajority to get a bill on the floor. This term, it's 18 votes. There are 18 Republicans. If we can't get all 18 Republicans on board to get the bills on the floor, we're going visiting some Democrats, because there are some Democrats out there who at least support the Second Amendment. And with that, I'll ask David to take over.
Well, I think you and CJ pretty much covered it all. I'm just going to say one thing. It's really simple. You show up and you get involved, or you lose, and that's the bottom line. So, whatever you might believe in, get involved, show up. Whether it's one subject or all of the subjects that this panel covers, get up and get involved. It's really just that simple. There's not anything more to it than that. I am going to brag on my friend Rick for just a second, though. I want to point something out. There's a reason that he's the legislative director and CJ and I are not, although CJ's pretty good at it too. The truth of the matter is, CJ and I are hell raisers and attention getters. That's what we do. That's what we do best. I do not have the patience or the grace of this man, and he is exceptionally good at what he does. I would have given a very different answer to Doc's question about Pancho.
And everybody knows.
Well, let me tell you this about David. I was pleased to follow his lead when nearly 600 armed citizens walked through Alma's Park. And we made our point. David knocked on the door to City Hall to deliver our petitions.
How many of you were there? Raise your hand. That was an auspicious day. Go ahead.
And no one was home, so I went back with a TV crew on the next business day and delivered a stack of petitions like this. And we made our voices heard. David also led an event out in Odessa where a handful of citizens were arrested for not breaking the law, and about 150 armed citizens showed up and didn't break the law.
How many of you were there? All the way out in Odessa.
All the way out in Odessa.
And so
And
don't
Brandon and the This Is Texas Freedom Force guys backed us up on that to the
Indeed.
hill on both of those events, Almost Park and out in Odessa.
So don't overlook the leadership of those two good men.
Well, thank you, buddy. I appreciate that.
Perhaps David would tell us how we can join OCT.
The best way to do that is go to the website. We also have a group on Facebook. It's a closed group, and as you know, Facebook is unsympathetic to our point of view. So we're still up there. We also have, now that's the easy way to find us. But Facebook is not where we conduct our business. There's a brand new social media site. How long's that been up, CJ? About moving in on a year now?
About a year now, yeah.
Okay. It's called Freedom Lake. Now I realize that's a, kind of a unique name, but Facebook, that's pretty unique too. So go to freedomlake.com and find us there. That's where we can speak our minds. That's where we can say what we think, say what we mean, and we don't have to worry about some liberal you-know-what censoring us, kicking us off, separating us from our main way we communicate with our relatives out of state, that sort of thing. We can be ourselves over there. And so that would be, that's where we do our business. If you need to find us, you can find us on Facebook. We're on MeWe. We have a YouTube channel, but we haven't done anything there in a while. And also our website, opencarrytexas.org. That's how you can find us.
And you can set up a monthly contribution.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Can I make a few extra additions to that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, just to kind of, I wrote down a few things that both, oh, look, my card's green, so you can't. Anyway. So, just a couple points I wanted to highlight from the two. The first being Almost Park, just for those that are wondering, I still am engaged in a civil suit, so that case is continuing to go forward. Almost Park isn't off the hook yet. We're in the discovery phase of that case. But what's important about what Rick talked about, and if you go to our website, opencarrytexas.org, and you click at the top, there's a link that says bill tracking. We have a list. I don't think it's comprehensive because it needs to be updated with some of the more recently filed bills, but it's got most of all the bills related to gun rights and gun control that have been filed so far and what our position is on it, and you can click on it and read the bill yourself. And like I said, opencarrytexas.org, and then click on the bill tracking link, and we've got all those bills already laid out and what the bill does and whether we support it or don't support it. And there's a lot of gun control stuff in there. There's a lot of stuff we're going to be fighting this year. And why this is important is because, listen to this, in Texas, if you want to travel to Canada, from the moment you leave Texas until you get to the Canadian border, you don't have to have a license to at least open carry, and in many of those states, concealed carry. From here to Canada, if you want to travel east to the Atlantic Ocean, you don't need a license unless you avoid Florida. But if you avoid Florida and you just head straight east, you don't need a license until you get to the Atlantic Ocean. If you head west, you don't need a license until you hit the People's Communist Commune of California. So we are literally in a minority of states that requires a license. Now, there's like 37 states, 38 states that you don't have to have a license to open carry. And we're in a minority here that you need a license to do one or both. But we're also, when Open Carry Texas first started in 2013, there were 5 constitutional carry states, 5. As Rick said, there's now 18, and Texas isn't one of them. So we are falling way behind. We are not the state of gun rights as a lot of people think. You know, they think Texas has, our reputation precedes us, but it's a false reputation. And those are just a few things I wanted to point out and why this is so important, because law-abiding citizens should not have to beg for government permission to get a license, and the trajectory of the United States is towards unlicensed carry. We have a very good shot this year, but we do need you guys and your friends and your neighbors and your family members to show up when it's important, and Thursday is one of those important days. I did put a video on our Open Carry Texas page. I'm trying to do that a little bit more. Most of my videos that I do live, but I do them at like midnight, because that's about when I get done with my law school studies, and then I spend an hour or two going over everything and then getting 3 hours of sleep before I get up again. So I just wanted to put some highlights in what Rick and David said about what we're fighting for and why it's really important.
Oh, well, I'm still holding the mic, so I'll say something. Yes, Chief is absolutely right. You know, it really boils down to get up, get involved, make a stand. If it weren't for him making a stand, we would not have open carry right now. That gives you an example of the results you get when you just get involved, just go to work. And I'm going to disagree with you for the first time in the history of my involvement with Open Carry Texas. No, Chief, it was you leading the charge. You can't push a rope, you have to pull it, and you were out front pulling. Well, I don't know why we'd be surprised. He's a first sergeant.
That's right. Sergeants make the Army work.
You better believe they do. And anyway, on that note, I'm going to turn it over to the organization that put this whole thing together, because they've been sitting there patiently waiting. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Texas Freedom Force.